Of course. Thank you very much, Chair Peskin. The CEO Hartnett was unable to attend the meeting today. There's other briefings going on. The memorandum in your packet provides a good summary of the status of the project. I'd like to provide an update of activities that have occurred since the memorandum was prepared. Just to summarize and restate important fact from the memorandum, on February 17th, the electrification project met all of the statutory and regulatory requirements for an FFGA, and the only thing that's holding up an FFGA is the signature of the Secretary of Transportation. In follow-up to that, Caltrain CEO Jim Hartnett, myself, and several others, members of staff, have been in D.C. the previous 2 weeks. We were joined by private sector representatives, contractors, MTC, Silicon Valley Leadership Group, and others to attend meetings with legislators, committee staff, Department of Transportation staff, FTA staff, and to discuss the project and to present the merits of the project to the decision makers. We also targeted members of Congress whose districts have jobs that would benefit, would be created as a result of moving forward with the electrification project.
Senator Hatch.
Senator Hatch, met with him. We met with him personally, so it was a very productive meeting. In mentioning Senator Hatch, our vehicle supplier, if the project moves forward, will build a manufacturing facility in Salt Lake City to build the vehicles, creating over 550 jobs and a $50 million private investment in that facility. So we attended, I would say, almost 50 meetings, dozens and dozens of meetings, and throughout those meetings, we did not receive one question on the merits of the project or the benefits of the project. Nevertheless, we're facing two significant challenges. The first is, despite the evidence that the project has independent utility, despite the fact that electrification was proposed and advanced long before the high-speed rail, bond authorization was approved in 2008, despite the fact that we have a court decision that upholds the independence of the Caltrain electrification project from the high-speed rail project. The Republican California congressional delegation opposed the grant based on their opposition to high-speed rail. We actually met with some of the members who have voiced opposition to the grant. They don't have any problem with our project except that there's a connection for future benefit to high-speed rail, and that high-speed rail is helping to fund the project. The second major challenge is the one that the Chair talked about in his report, and that is that the President, in his preliminary or skinny budget announced last week, recommended the eventual elimination of the Capital Investment Grant Program, which would mean no new full funding grant agreements for new starts projects, small starts projects, or core capacity projects. This action has drawn quite a bit of attention from agencies, transportation agencies, congressional members, industry associations, business members, and others who are looking to marshal a strategy in an effort to save the program. I saw a really good quote yesterday. I think it might have been Randy Rentschler who said it, that one of the things to keep in mind is that this is the sort of the first outlay in a budget proposal. We have a long way to go, and it should be considered like being in the first inning of a baseball game. So there's a lot of discussion, a lot of negotiation that's going to occur before the President's budget is finalized and submitted to Congress, and then there'll be negotiations after that happens. We are the only project in the Capital Investment Grant Program that is ready to go with a signature. So in the face of these challenges, we are continuing to stress the tremendous support and the benefits and the need for the project. We are continuing to work with Department of Transportation and the Federal Transit Administration to convince them to include our project in the President's ultimately proposed FY18 budget. That is the threshold that the Department of Transportation has told us that we must meet for a full funding grant agreement to get executed. We continue to advocate with our congressional delegation and other elected officials and business leaders who have jobs in their districts and benefit from the project. We're also working with our delegation to support continued funding for the project in this year's budget, the FY17 budget, which will inform the FY18 budget. We're currently in the FY17 budget for $100 million. We have $73 million of previously appropriated funding eligible to the project once an FFGA is signed. In addition to these actions, we are exploring other potential funding options, particularly with the state. One of the issues that was raised by the Republican delegation was the use of high-speed rail funds, Prop 1A funds, in our funding plan. So we're exploring whether there are opportunities to substitute those funds with other funds. Leaving no stone unturned, we are also working with our financial advisors and private sector partners to explore other potential funding sources in the event that the full funding grant agreement is not executed. So in summary, we're continuing our advocacy efforts. The project meets exactly what the President says he wants. The project would modernize obsolete infrastructure, create jobs, and is ready to move into construction. As the memorandum described, we have extended our contracts to June 30th. The President's detailed budget is expected to be issued in mid-May, so we will have a good sense for where we stand probably early May. And we continue to evaluate potential alternative strategies, work with all of our regional partners, and continue to build support for the project. So that's where we stand. We're not giving up. We won't give up. The project has too many benefits. It is needed immediately to address our capacity issues, not to mention for the longer term, and has tremendous support from virtually all aspects of stakeholders that are associated with it. So that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.